All right, so yesterday was interesting. After the debate, well, I think Trump was actually winning the debate up until all that stop and frisk nonsense. He really just went, far out of the way where it's like, he was doing too much. But a lot of people started talking about that publicly after, the next day. And I guess Hot 97, Ebro, and his crew were talking about it, interviewing callers. I guess, I didn't know at the time, but the Jewish dude took a shot at the Breakfast Club, more so at DJ Envy because he had said some, I guess, controversial things. I don't think it's just that simple, black and white though. I live in New York City, state, not the city, so we don't have that issue with we don't have to walk around everywhere we go or catch cabs or trains. So it's like it's a unique situation for them because most people, they're not driving cars, they're catching the train or walking blocks to do what they got to do. So it was definitely different, but it was interesting hearing one Ebro's first caller who called in and pretty much said like, "Yo, I carry illegal guns. Stop and frisk made us stop carrying them." So he kind of solidified the point. Did it do its job to a degree? You have a criminal saying like, "Yo, we stopped carrying dirty guns because we don't want to get stretched and get caught with that 25 year life," even though nobody who's been caught with a legal gun in New York has been hit with that yet. They always get plea deals and bargain down. I think the only person who really went to jail for it, that specific law, was Plexico Burris, and he shot himself in the damn foot. But a lot of people went in on Envy over at the Breakfast Club because he had said some things too. But on this show, on in regards to Hot 97, both callers called in and said, "Yo, we support it." And I'm saying, looking at the entire situation from the outside, of course I understand people who live in the city or in the projects or whatnot, and they're being faced with undesirables on a daily, and they can't protect themselves. You can't carry in New York City. You can't carry knives in New York City, so it's like you're pretty much defenseless against criminals who don't care about laws. But then again, this guy saying like everybody was packing, before stop and frisk. Everybody had illegal guns because you just had to have one because it was about that life. And stop and frisk made him stop doing that, where he said he had to make phone calls if something popped off. He couldn't just do stuff, which it is what it is. I don't think it's just it's gray areas to it. Of course, I don't support it. I don't live there, but I can understand why people who do live there, why the female caller, she talked about, her logic was off because she said like something about some baseball player who was a star who could have been like, went to the league, but he got shot and killed. But she's saying, well, if the police would have stopped to frisk him, he probably could have been alive. But it's like, that's like a big if, like if they randomly found those four guys together and stopped them, like it don't work like that. But I understand her logic though. I understand the people who live and they getting robbed and they getting, purses getting snatches, homes getting invaded, whatnot. I totally understand their logic of why they may support it. They want to give up their freedom for security. I don't co-sign that, but I don't live in that environment, so I can't really say much about it. At 6'4", 300+ pounds, I know damn well my black ass will be stopped and frisked, so I can't support something that I know would systematically affect me more based on my appearance, because I look like a bad dude. But I just don't think it's clean cut though. It was, and the problem more so about it was that it wasn't ruled unconstitutional. Like Envy pointed out, the way that the police were doing it was unconstitutional because they were just using it to target black and Puerto Ricans. And the data didn't back up what they were doing. Now some people argue, well, if they're doing that to everybody, then that's fair. If you're going to Manhattan or, or the boys that on Wall Street and you stop and frisking those dudes and patting them down too, then some people say they'll be more supportive of it. But if you're going to just stop and frisk people and harass them, that's not cool. But Ebro got on some self-righteous thing talking about I work hard and I don't want to get penalized for you other Negroes who do what you do, and I'm like, I get his logic, but it's like I don't think it's just a clear cut situation. I understand the people who live there why they feel that way. Even DJ Envy pointed out that 700 guns were taken off the streets in that last year without stop and frisk. The following year that it was gone, only 250 guns were taken off the street. So it is. Now over on the Breakfast Club, it was a little bit different. It was more so, on Hot 97, nobody agreed with it. They all said it's trash and we don't support it. Whereas it was different over here. Charlemagne and Yee were going at Envy, more so Yee going at Envy, two waffle colored people going at each other. That waffle color on waffle color crime. And that was the first time I really saw like tension between them two on the show. Like Yee and Charlemagne go at it all the time, but that's the first time I seen or heard Yee and Envy go back and forth like that, cutting each other off and trying to talk over each other and all that. But they both were sitting there looking at their quote unquote facts, and like it depends on where you getting it from. One liberal site is going to purport one way, and some police backing New York City stats are going to do another thing. So it's like, that was just corny. Like, they was like, I'm reading my stats and she was reading hers. I'm like, that, it depends on where you're getting the media from. You need an unbiased source to tell it how it is. And again, I say, it's not, I don't think it's a right or wrong answer in the arguments. Also, DJ Envy's father was a cop, so I could definitely tell he has some vested interest in police officers, and to a point. Like, he's not going to go too far when it comes to these conversations. But I wonder why Angela Yee, she ain't roll up on, what is that, K. Michelle, the way she rolling up on Envy. Like, she got tough, she got loud with Envy. She ain't do that with K. Michelle. But they were going back and forth too. Envy was making a point about the numbers of the guns. Yee was pointing out that the data was saying that even with all that Envy was saying, it didn't do enough. I don't know correlation, causation. I do know that New York City was crazy, and crime went down a lot there for a minute under what is it? The last dude, not De Blasio, but the dude before him, Giuliani. So, I mean, you need to break down the data to see why it is. Murders were down, gunshots were down under him. And it seems like they're starting to go back up a little bit. Not this year, though. It's still down 60% from the previous year, but cyber frisk is gone. And we'll see within the next few years if it had anything to do with, shootings and robberies. Time will tell. And we'll be able to prove for a fact, like, yo, it didn't work. But I just think it's funny how, everybody's just, as much as I don't agree with stop and frisk, because the way it's going to be used, no matter what, it's going to be used to profile black people. But there's a proper way to use it, I think. Because some cities have done that, and they've done it the right way, where they're not discriminatory and they're not just picking on black people, black men in particular. But to just throw it all out and say, like, it didn't have any type of effect, I don't think that's true. When on Hot 97, the first caller, the dude said, yo, we stopped carrying illegal guns because we didn't want to get stretched and have weapons on us. So we stopped. So that's the logic. If criminals are telling you, yes, we stopped, criminals don't follow laws. But when you're stopping and frisking them and, taking away their freedom, profiling them, they kind of do comply. But that's the point. Can you do that without violating people's civil liberties and, their Fourth Amendment rights, which that just got pretty much trashed over the summer, the Fourth Amendment anyway. So, I don't know. It was just an interesting conversation. It was funny seeing, I never hear Breakfast Club throw shots at Hot 97, but Hot 97 stay taking shots at Breakfast Club all the time. And the one white dude, Rosenberg, was like, to the first caller who was being honest, saying like, yo, I stopped carrying my guns because of this law. Said he needs to go over there and watch, he said you should go listen to the Breakfast Club, which it wasn't the Breakfast Club, it was just DJ Envy saying he supports the law in context in areas that are, is bad. Like, Patterson, New Jersey, Newark, specifically in the south side of Chicago. Like he's saying, where those areas are really, really bad, that's what you gotta do. And I know that happened here too. A black mayor in not my city, but the city of Rochester, which is like 45 minutes away, they did something like that because it was getting buck wild for it to be a small city. Like it's smaller than Buffalo, way smaller than New York City, obviously. I think it's like the third smallest, biggest city in New York State, and they had a ridiculous murder rate for such a small city. And they implemented something like that as well, where they were like, if you go on, but it was like how, like kind of like how The Wire had it set up, where this certain areas is cool, but if you go on these blocks, it's like they try to push all the crime stuff into one area, and then they was stopping and frisking folks all up in that spot. So I don't agree with it, but I don't think it's just that simple, clear cut. I'm sure there's a lot of old people and a lot of people who they just would rather give up their freedom for security. So I understand their logic. I don't live in that environment, and I'm not faced with that every day. And then not being able to carry guns in the city, not being able to carry concealed, that's kind of like, you're left open. You're left empty. So it's like, it is what it is. But this is an interesting conversation to watch. Everybody going for Envy's head. He going, they gonna eventually get that man dunk here today for that one. That was a real. So I did the video. I didn't upload it yet, but I'm gonna probably just attach this in front of it or after. But it's not really anything differently. It's just now we have more of a context to what was going on with DJ Envy, and in the Breakfast Club when he talked about, they were having a discussion about the debate, and Donald Trump invoked stop and frisk, which I think Donald Trump again was winning the debate up until that point. He just like losing it after that. But Envy had added more information. It was just cool. That's why you should wait to go in on certain topics, because information will come out right the next day or later on that same day. But my perspective is still the same way, but it's like I could tell in the man's voice, and you can tell in their dialogue, especially since him and Angela Yee don't really ever go at it like that, like they play around, but they really don't go at it all like that. Most people, it's mostly Charlemagne that, they always going at it with each other. But you can hear in the voice of Envy that it was something deeper why he supported that. Part of it, in my opinion, was like his dad is a cop, so he might have more information as far as that goes. But he basically told that he got robbed on some movie scene type stuff, like on the E-way going from Jersey or going from the city to Jersey or whatever. Dudes hop out the car 3 o'clock in the morning, black mask, black gloves, popping at his vehicle. And his logic was, well, if there was stop and frisk in that environment, because he said he even broke it down that within that mile range of where he was at, it's like it's a bad spot, like it's a bad place. And that was his logic was, it's like, yo, in that area like that, there should be stop and frisk. And I remember, I think it was 2008, 2009, that was really, that was like on the news where like they didn't have enough police because cops was getting shot. Police officers were not going after criminals and murderers and stuff like that. They were going after people barely making it by, giving them traffic tickets. But they're watching like, drug dealers do their thing right across the street. Like, it was crazy. I remember those reports on YouTube and the news talking about the area. So I'm sure, like, in context, I'm looking at that picture and now it's making more sense, because those are areas where people who are the most vulnerable are not protected or defended. And that's what I'm saying. I have enough, I guess, empathy, you want to say, to understand why people who live in proximity to those environments might feel, like, yo, I live in New Jersey, I live in New York, I can't carry conceal, I can't defend myself. I'm completely dependent upon the state, the boys in blue, to protect me, and we know how that goes when you're black. So as much as I don't support stop and frisk as it is, I do understand the arguments from the caller that called Hot 97 on Ebro. One thing too is like, I don't, it's like this thing where I equate it to this, because Rosenberg from Hot 97 took a shot. He didn't say it directly at Envy, but he said, you should go listen to the Breakfast Club, because of the one caller who was admitting like, yo, I stopped carrying illegal weapons because of stop and frisk. A lot of my homies stopped doing it because of that specific reason. But to me, it's like these white dudes, these white liberals, white people who interject themselves and they feel comfortable, almost like the Young Turks calling blacks who don't share the same perspective as black progressive or black liberals, Uncle Tom and stuff like that. I'm like, that guy is just like, to me, that's equivalent to the black people who got friends that say nigga. Like, it's like, to me, like no, like that's not cool. But it's like funny listening to him take shots. He didn't do them directly at Envy, but he said, go listen to the Breakfast Club, to that dude, because they're on that too. But and Envy is the number one on the Breakfast Club, so it was like, it is what it is. But I don't like that type of stuff, you know. It's just, that's the same equivalent to me. It's like, you got these black people, got white liberals feeling comfortable calling black people's coons and Uncle Toms and sellouts and all that too. Which I think we need to fall back on doing that too, because it's not a solution, doesn't do anything. It's just, you know, that's not an argument. Like, I'd rather hear you defeat their point of view with actual, you know, data and facts and, you know, present an argument. Just calling people names, that shit is, that's old and it's corny. But that's basically what he did on the other show. That's basically what they were doing. I don't know. It's just like, it's not an easy topic because it's not clear cut. You know, we need to learn how to disagree. After Envy had made those statements, of course he got, you know, I joked around on their page like, yeah, they gonna get this man donkey today, because I know what's gonna happen. I know all the liberal media websites are gonna put this out there, and he did this, he did that. Even though this is a person who's been in the community, doing a book bag thing, doing a turkey thing, whatever, giving back, I guess. At one point that was made that Charlamagne tried to throw in there, which he was definitely trolling when he said it, was like, well, you be in these type of communities, you know, with these $500,000 vehicles and stunting with the jewelry and whatnot, and it's like, don't you think you should turn it down a notch? And Envy does this, you know, I can dress how I want to dress response, like the females who want to walk, you know, half naked in messed up environments or whatever, like things that you can do if you want to, but might not be smart to do. I guess I disagree with him on that logic, because the reality is, if you drive in those type of vehicles and he's flaunting like that in these type of environments where there are dudes who ain't got nothing to lose and they see you as food, you kind of like, it is what it is, dog. Like, you not Ghost, man. You need a Milan or something. You need some security, right? You can't be driving in these horrible conditions. Like, I don't go into spaces like that. I know there's certain types spaces in my neighborhood or in the hood, rather, just based on my appearance, 6'4", 300 plus, black as hell. I'm looked at as a threat to other black men. Like, why am I over there in that environment? So for you to go in places like that flossing, that just, you know, it is what it is. We have a right to do it, but it ain't right to do it, right? Like, you know, you gonna bring negative attention driving $1 million cars in the hood. It's just that, driving, you know, with $50,000, $60,000 worth of jewelry on your body. And the point is too, is like, no, that doesn't mean just because you don't do that, that means you won't get robbed. Because obviously the people who tried to rob Envy that morning, after they couldn't get Envy, they robbed somebody else, a regular person. But still, logic is like, if you're gonna do that in the hood, you better get you some security dog. You better get you some armed security to roll around with you, or a driver or whatever, because that just doesn't make any sense. You have 5 children and a wife, so it's like, you gotta think about those things when you're going out in those type of environments. So I know Charlamagne was trolling when he said that, but I just don't agree with the logic of, I'm gonna just do what I want to do because I work hard and bust my ass, so I want to have these things. I'm like, well, think about the environment that you're in with those things, because you are a target, period. I made a video of a specific vehicle that I purchased. I was just trying to flip it, but it was a target vehicle, like, period. You're going to get attention as a black person driving a certain vehicle. You're going to have the cops on you because they don't think you should have it. They're going to profile you, right? They're going to legally stop and frisk and have, you know, Negro in a BMW or whatever. They're going to do that. And then you also getting bad attention from criminals. But that's just my add addition to the video. It's pretty much the same point. I just think that folks need to, because like I'm saying, when I was listening to when I did my first segment on the topic, I was like, yo, it's definitely something in this man's voice that's saying like why he's supporting, why he's going so hard with Envy, with Yee and Charlamagne on the topic. There's a reason behind it, and there was. So it's like, I think we need to have more dialogues and discuss things out rather just, you know, because there are a lot of people who live in these environments who can't protect themselves, who do support the law because they have no options. They can't, like they can't carry. And if if criminals are telling you, I stopped carrying for this specific reason, it's like, yo, it is what it is. You kind of proved this point. And Ebro on Hot 97 tried to, go off on the dude for that reason, but it is what it is. He said the law stopped me from carrying. And as far as the data goes, it's like New York City was crazy, right? New York City was crazy for a while. I can't break down specifics. You listen to this one article from a perspective, from a leftist, it's going to say one thing. You look at it from a conservative, it's going to be another. But Giuliani did change the situation as far as crime goes in the city, period. The murder rate drops. Okay, New York was crazy. For it to be a big major city, it's doing better than, Chicago or Detroit or whatever. Like, it's way different. They cleaned it up a lot. You can say they gentrified areas, they stopped and frisk areas, whatever you want. There was a difference in the crime statistics of what happened. And we have to look at each individual thing on how we got to that point and say, okay, that was doing too much, or that didn't work, or the data says that wasn't enough. But something has to be done because it's crazy. And I get it. These people who are poor or whatever, and they can't afford weapons, and they damn sure can't afford to be caught with one carried outside their home illegally. They want to give up their freedom for security, and they have no choice. So I get that. I can be empathetic enough to say I don't support the law. Again, based on knowing that I would be stopped and frisked. I'm not that type of person where I say I'll give up my freedom for security. Nah. But it is what it is. I definitely recall a coworker, an old school dude, who he had a felony. He couldn't carry guns, but he lived in an environment where they were doing home invasions. Boys would, similar to this situation with Envy, boys rocking, FBI jackets and police badges and whatnot, running up in people's houses, robbing them. And he's like, yo, I'd rather be caught with one than without one. Him getting caught with a gun is definitely going back to jail. But that's pretty much it. I had to add that to the video, seeing that it was more to the story, just something I knew something was more going on, just listening to the back and forth between him and Yee. That usually doesn't play out like that.
In the science fiction movie Minority Report, a New Jersey city is going to start marking people with a red light before they might commit a crime. The police chief in East Orange, William Robinson, is embracing it as the latest pre-crime law enforcement technique.
Whereas London have talking cameras, we're about to deploy light projecting cameras, better known as light-based intervention systems.
The directed red lights will be attached to existing surveillance cameras and can shoot a light beam a full city block away. If a police officer monitoring one of the city's many high-def cameras sees a crime about to occur, like someone about to get mugged, they will remotely bathe the would-be perpetrator in red light.
The message to the criminals is, the police are observing you, the police are recording you, and the police are responding.
A few years ago, East Orange had one of the worst crime rates in the state, as rival Crips and Bloods gangs battled and sold drugs. The city used federal grant money to invest in lots of new technology, which the chief says has brought crime down to the lowest level since the 1960s. Daily policing here is all high-tech. Sensors attached to the top of patrol cars instantly read the license plates of all vehicles the car passes. A monitor shows a picture of the car owner and whether they are on any lists, whether that's a terror watch list or they have an outstanding parking ticket. Every patrol car gets a live feed from all the city's surveillance cameras.
We can see what's going on before we actually pull around and get there.
allowing officers to assess a situation as they approach a potential crime scene.
And we can zoom in and move the cameras. And
those who live and work here, like barbershop owner Jayad Ali, are happy crime is down. But, he says, it was more than just a technological feat.
You know, collectively with the police department, along with the citizens of East Orange, they work together. And it's like, you know, it's like neighborhood watch here.
All this police surveillance is troubling to some, like Deborah Jacobs, executive director of the New Jersey chapter of the American Civil Liberties Union.
It's something that's hard to understand and appreciate how it affects our society until you've experienced it and recognized it and found out maybe that you're being watched when you didn't think you were being watched, or that some of your actions where you've been in the United States, we've had lots of monitoring of political activities.
She wants laws that protect some places from being watched.
You know, these will not look into houses of worship. We won't look at abortion clinics. We won't look into people's private homes.
The new red light markers will be installed in East Orange in the coming weeks. Ted Shaffrey, Associated Press, East Orange.